What up, baby? Episode 6. And we got another heavyweight for y'all coming all the way from Amsterdam. Vinny, who do we got today, baby?
Uh, I think, in my opinion, the best coach I ever had, especially as an offensive guy. A guy that is known in the football community in Europe for finding talent, working with a lot of talents, and helping them get to the next level. Um, Someone that I really liked as a coach, someone that is very uh, authoritarian as a head coach. Um, you feel his presence. But it's a guy that is very important for the growth of football in Europe, in my opinion, especially with young guys trying to get to the next level. So
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely, man. And hey, y'all. So what I'm gonna tell you about this. Hey, I had the great privilege of coaching with this man. Hey, and what Vinny said is absolutely correct. He went out there after he played his college ball. He played his ball out there, made it big in Europe, played in the GFL, and after that, he planted roots in Europe, man, and has built one of the best 7-on-7 programs. And the man is an elite quarterback builder out there in Europe. Our brother, Elew.
What up? What up?
What's cracking, brother?
Not much, man. Just hanging in there, man. Hey, I appreciate y'all for the love and the kind words. I know Vinny was he probably has something else to say about me, but it's all good. No.
We'll definitely get into that. We'll definitely get into
Yeah,
that. But
we're gonna get
I
into
I
the whole
didn't
story.
I didn't I didn't lie about anything that I had to say about you because it's to me it's a fact that as an offensive guy, especially as a receiver, having to work with someone that has that experience and have worked with so many people of a higher level than me even. It's always nice to learn new things, even though at some points I thought that I was already an accomplished player, as you know. I think we did great together, and we'll definitely get into that once we get to the part of you coaching in Belgium.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Elu, we all know you played college ball here at the D2 level. I'll be like, I actually live in the town that you played against here in Grand
Right.
Junction, Colorado, right? So,
Right.
when you go overseas and you start playing, like, let's start your story there, man. What brought you to go play in Europe?
Well, actually, one of my good friends, EJ Woods, shout out EJ Woods from Inglewood, California. I played with him at New Mexico Highlands. And he basically, um, you know, told me about this situation that he had in Europe, playing in Finland. And I remember the day vividly. I was just, regular day for me, working, etc. And I just received a phone call from him, and basically was just asking him like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, man, you need to come out here." I'm like, "Nah, I'm cool," But long story short, though, EJ Woods was one of the first guys that really kind of helped me. He actually made my profile account, set everything up for me just about. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even believe in it at all. And I was fine doing what I was doing at the time. But it really kind of looking back at it, it really saved my life. So, I always pay homage to EJ for that, just because it's, definitely credit due there. And then I just received, he made my profile, Euro players, of course. And like 3 days later, man, I started to get almost like over thirty emails. What I'm saying? It was just crazy. And I'm like, whoa. And I ended up just going through these emails and just looking at teams, looking at their locations, etc. And, it was just basically, okay, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what the hell this is. But Frankfurt was one of the, yeah, Frankfurt was the only one that really kind of stood out to me. At the time, they were still under the Frankfurt Galaxy branding. They were GFL 2 at the moment, but that's when Schwäbisch Hall had just pretty much became a dominant force. Braunschweig was still pretty but dominant then, and so we moved up in the ranks. We went undefeated that year. But yeah, that's how I got here, pretty much in a nutshell.
Okay. So you go through your first season, right, in the GFL. You're a young man. You're out here, lots of bravado, lots of swagger. You're feeling yourself, right? Because,
Yes,
hey,
sir.
let's be real, man. You know how it is. You feel yourself. Hey, man, right now you're on top of the world. You're like, hey, man, I just took this team 15-0. Hey, ain't nothing but a chicken wing, baby. I'm like,
Right.
hey, we can run it back anytime. So,
Anytime.
right? So you start doing those things. You start feeling yourself. How does your mindset change, man, when you start looking at it and saying, okay, you go from your first contract? What are you looking for? What is your mind thinking? What is a young Emmanuel Lewis out there, you know, looking for to establish himself in Europe? Because I mean, like you kind of like took the trail of establishing yourself to
Right.
continue to play. You know, you didn't come back to the States. You didn't go and say, hey, we're just gonna chill. You kind of like continue your process. So
Yeah.
how does that process continue for you?
Well, I want to say this because I think I have to say this to kind of shed light on this where I am, today in a sense. Prior to going to college and things of that nature, I've always kind of had like off the field issues, and I need to definitely make sure that I say this because this is part of my story. And so, upon coming to Europe, I had already been through so much adversity. It was really one of those things where, for me, it was a sink or swim type of deal for me. You know what I mean? I didn't really have other options. And so looking back at it, it was all about survival. It was just more so what I had to do, and I didn't have an option. I didn't have a B or C. You know what I'm saying? Like if I wanted to survive America and to survive the environment that I was living in and things of that nature and the things that I was indulging myself in, it really was only one brainer for me. So when I came out here, um, my first year at Frankfurt went well. Like I said, 15-0, undefeated, one of the only undefeated seasons to ever be done out here. And just the way we did it was just really with grace and elegance. I think that year was special. And there's a lot of great people that came from that year. So I won't say that I did it alone. I had some pretty cool and great mentors that are doing great things. So I was able to work with a lot of professionals that year. And looking back at it, it was a special year because I never had another season or a group of men like that before. You know what I'm saying? Ever again. So I do anybody that was on that 2015 team in Frankfurt know. So after that year. Um, I went actually to try to go back to the MLFB at the time, the Major League Football. It was what we see now in the XFL and the UFL and all of these, what I'm saying, farm leagues in a sense, professional
Yeah.
farm leagues. And back at that time, unfortunately, it was just a really just arena or overseas. CFL was there. I was on the negotiation list for Calgary. I went to Montreal Alouettes training camp. And so after Frankfurt, I ended up getting a contract with the Oregon Crush at the time. That was the name. I had a tight window to sign back with Frankfurt. My contract was really good. One of the best contracts I probably could have had, you know what I mean? And, really good numbers, I will say. Um, had everything I wanted per se in Frankfurt. But I ended up making a decision, and I had to make a decision. I made a decision 3 days before having to come back and report to Frankfurt to stay and pursue a professional level contract in the States.
Yeah.
That league ended up falling through. So all of 2016, I was just pretty much in LA and San Diego training and getting right. And then, that time that phone call didn't go, you know what I mean? And so for me, 2017, when I got back, that's when my journey really truly started because, I wanted different for myself. So to answer that all, it's really just the fact that, I knew that I wanted something different for myself. It was bigger than football for me. Football helped me get to the point that I'm at. But it wasn't something that I felt that I wanted to do long here as far as playing. I didn't need to prove myself here. You know what I mean? I was the number 18 prospect in the NFL draft in 2013, 2014. I went to the Manning camp, competed against everybody that we do know. A.J. McCarron, Johnny Manziel, Teddy Bridgewater, Taj Boyd, you name it, Blake Bortles. These guys were all invited. Not all of them came to the camp itself, but I was honored to be on the board with those guys. You know what I mean? I was 27 when I first came, so I will say that. I was 27, so I wasn't a spring chicken. I wasn't 21, 22, 23. Yeah, because, it matters. You know what I mean? This is a young
Yeah.
man's game.
Yeah.
So I already kind of had an idea that, I maybe had a year or two left in me, you know what I'm saying, to kind of play. But again, I have to shed all that. I have to shed light on all of that because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I came here, I knew that it had to be something where I could be able to eventually live off of. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I had to
Yeah.
figure it out, if that makes sense.
No, you did. That'd be like what you basically came over here with the plan. You said, "Hey, I got to make it happen. I got to
Yeah.
make it happen for myself." And at the end of the day, you use football to establish a business and to establish yourself out there and to make a living for yourself. And I get it, man. Like we all come from different backgrounds and different
Right.
situations, right? So you get there, you start playing, you go back. Okay, so when you go back, where do you go, Elu?
To Germany.
Okay. So you
Or I'm asking you. You mean where do I go back to Germany
Yeah.
or?
Where you
Oh
came
no,
back
where
when you
like
came back to Europe?
when you
Yeah.
came back to Europe, where
Yeah.
was your first stop?
I went to in 2017. I ended up going to Marburg Mercenaries, um, and
Oh,
I
that's
played
Austria.
there.
That's
I'm
where
sorry.
Giuliani isn't that
Yeah,
Austria
yeah,
where
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's where
Yeah. He
Giuliani was
played
at.
there
Yeah,
last
yeah,
year.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Okay.
So I was there. Marburg has a pretty good historical program.
Hmm.
I was there on the Dell Health run. May he rest in peace. That's my guy. You know what I mean? I think we need more coaches like Dell. He was a crazy guy, but, he was definitely a loving person and had a heart of gold. So I definitely want to send a shout out to my guy, Dell, man, because he's still alive in this bitch. But yeah, hey, if you know Dell, then you already know. But no, I went and played for him, and I have to give homage to him, man, because honestly, like he was the guy that took a chance on me. Late, of course, and like I said, that opportunity in 2017 truly, truly, truly saved my life, and the reason why I am here today. So I had to pay homage to those guys that really helped me get there. But I was in Marburg. I ended up hurting myself against not Swabish Hall, Stuttgart Scorpions. I ended up separating my shoulder like June, so like maybe like game 5 or 6. And we were undefeated at the time. We lost to one team, Swabish Hall, and I think we lost to them by like maybe 14 points. So we played them pretty tough that year, and we had a stellar season. But I ended up having to step away from the game. It was just for me. That was a calling for me and a telling for me that it was over. You know what I mean? I could still throw, of course, but I didn't want to kind of go through my career with a shoulder injury per se that then kind of gets worse over time.
Yeah.
Because here in Europe we don't have that type of insurance. We're not making those millions that we can kind of put that $100,000 on a doctor to make sure that this is working or this physiotherapy. So it was an executive decision, and I'm smart, and I felt like, yeah, man, I got to put my brain to use. I've done this physical work and labor long enough, and yeah, I knew I loved getting the football. I loved the game, and I just got into coaching after that.
All right. So let's talk about that, man. You go through a serious injury, you make that transition into coaching. From player to coach, it's a totally different beast.
Yeah,
Like you're not, you're no longer the guy that's being taught. You are the guy teaching. Talk
right.
about that transition, man, when you're going from like student to teacher. And I mean, like as a teacher, you're also learning because like guys, coaching is an art form that you refine over time.
For
It's not
sure.
that just something you're just born with and like, oh yeah, freaking
Right.
best coach ever. This guy knows everything.
Right, right,
Uh,
right.
so talk to us about that transition and about you, like, making that, and where do you go and coach, and what do you start doing?
Yeah. Man, that's interesting though because for me, um, my dad was a coach, so I've always kind of, knew I had it in me in a way. My dad was a great coach as well. I'll be honest. But I think for me, it took me a while to become a true coach and a good coach. I think that the biggest thing any coach can tell you is that you may can do it, but can you teach someone else how to do it? You know, and that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn, and I still struggle with. I'll be honest. Because we think that mentality wise, my intensity is always so high.
Hmm.
And sometimes in coaching, you have to be gentle. You can't be as rough. You can't be as stern. You have to have a give and take. And those were things that were really kind of challenging for me, as well as the skill set of some guys, especially being a quarterback trainer. For me, I'm more than a quarterback trainer. I'm a mechanic. I think that it doesn't matter what a quarterback issue is, I can fix it. I know the tools and the right tools to kind of hand this man in order to kind of get these things tweaked and fixed, right? So within that and coaching quarterbacks, it's been very difficult because you need a lot of intricate movements that are kind of hard to translate, you know what I mean, to a person that's not speaking really truly English. So that was really a struggle, and I say that because I went to Belarus, Minsk, Belarus, to my boys. Man, I got to shout out my boys, Minsk Zoops. You know what I mean? They brought me in, man. Like they brought me in right after my shoulder injury, and I ended up going there as coaching like assistant head coach and OC, and quarterback coach, and I got to work with some young quarterbacks at the time. And that was like really one of my first situations, kind of just becoming a true coach. And I'm telling you, these guys didn't speak English very well. You know what I mean?
I
So it
do,
was,
I do know what you mean, Coach. I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
100%.
yeah. It's like it's super hard. You know what I mean? So it was very interesting to kind of I would say learn ways to
Hmm.
develop others. Like you
Yeah.
have to kind of use more imagery. You got to be hands on. You know what I mean? And that's something that I taught. I mean, that's what something I learned about it is like you got to be hands on. You can't just sit back and just kind of be like penciling and say do this, do that. So demonstration was always key. But it was a struggle because as an athlete and as an elite athlete, you can do certain things that come natural to you and so easy to you that the next person just doesn't get it. So outside of those things and having that frustration of just kind of figuring it out, I think that was one of the biggest transitional things that I've seen and learned over the time.
Absolutely. I think, like, when you talk about the language barriers, Vinny, we talked about it with Coach Sirion in the
Yeah.
previous podcast.
Yeah.
The language, like, even in Belgium, we were talking about it. They have
Yeah.
Yeah.
French,
But
Flemish, English. I
Belgium is
mean,
a
like,
very different country in comparison to other countries in Europe. I
Right.
think you have Switzerland that also has kind of that issue where you
Yeah.
have
Got
multiple
German and
language,
French
German, French,
and
some
Italy. I think
Italian even.
Italian. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So, but other than that, I can't really think of a country in Europe where you have that issue, and Belgium is just very specific, and like you said, it always depends where you land in Belgium. But of course, when we had the talk with Coach Cyril, first of all, he is a French guy. He's not even
Right.
Belgian.
yeah,
So for him, it's even harder because French people don't speak English at all.
Right.
Um, Plus, if he works for the national team, then he needs to speak French and try to speak Dutch to the other guys that don't understand French.
Exactly.
But I have to say though that most of the players do
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
very good French and understand Dutch or the other way around. but I feel like Belgium is one of those countries in Europe that is very developed in their English.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I can agree with you to that part. But here's the thing, Vinny. When you come over as an American coach, we speak only English. I
yeah,
speak
Right.
Spanish. I could probably get away with it in Spain with my
Right.
strong
Right.
Spanish, but I'd be like, the thing is, when Coach E.Lew and I come over there, you guys, some of them, French.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't speak a lick of French.
Yeah.
Or some
No.
guys only speak Flemish. Or
yep,
some guys, well, we had guys from from Germany even come over.
yep,
And
yep.
some guys do speak English, but some guys don't. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
it's
find
hard.
that translator, right? You have to find that middle guy that you're like,
Yep.
hey, Petey, come over
Yeah.
here. Tell
Yeah.
this guy over here that this is what I'm trying to get him to
Yep,
do.
that's true. That's
Facts.
true.
Yeah.
But I can understand that. I can understand it. But I think that's it's an issue that we as players in Europe also have if we go to other countries. It's just a thing.
Absolutely.
You cannot compare the U.S. to Europe because the U.S. everyone speaks English. Well,
Yep.
except for the illegal ones. But I'm talking about the. I'm
Here's the
talking
thing, Vinny.
about
I mean, like
the.
everybody, like here's the thing though. We're not against you. What we're saying is it's difficult, and that's the part of our transition.
Yep.
For us, that's part of
Uh-huh.
our transition going into a new country,
Yep.
learning
Right.
new languages,
Well,
trying
but
new
that's the same
foods.
for us, though. That's what I'm trying to say because I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, if we go as an import, like I went to Sweden, I didn't understand shit. Um, I went to
100%.
Germany. I know they speak German in Belgium for a little bit, but I don't understand most of the things that they say. So I do understand the thing, but also like Elo said, he probably wants to the side of Europe where English is so underdeveloped.
Yeah.
The Russian speaking countries are so bad with their English. So
They don't
I can
know
definitely
any
imagine
English.
the challenge he had to
Yeah.
explain everything.
I think I maybe had like and I'm not even joking. I maybe had like two guys on the full team that even was able to kind of like
Speak the same
understand
language.
it well enough
Yeah,
and speak it well enough to be able
mm,
to even like get a translate out of it. It was only
I'm
like
not
two people.
surprised.
So
Yep.
if one of those two people weren't there that day, I wasn't able. I'll be honest, I wasn't able to really communicate with people. To be honest, really, it was a very cultural. It was a cultural shock for me, really,
I can
going to
imagine.
Belarus, and it was a wonderful experience. I love the city. I mean, if anybody get a chance to visit Minsk, I'll be honest, like go because, you know, this
Well, it's
the
pretty hard
old.
right now.
No, I
It's
mean,
due to the war. It's pretty hard to
right
go.
now, of course, wouldn't be the best,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not war there per se, but I would definitely stay away at this moment. But
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, I mean, I would stay out of America for more than I would stay out of Belarus, to be honest with you. So I
I
can't really
agree.
say like that. It was a very
I
nice
agree.
people. I didn't ever experience any type of, the whole violent or Kremlin or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really have that. It was definitely there. You could see it around you, but the people were very nice. You had definitely some experiences that wasn't so pleasant. So I think that any guys that kind of listen to this, just got to be careful and be cautious of where you go because there
Mm-hmm.
are horror stories that are coming out here internationally. One of my good
Yes.
friends had a horror story in China. So it's a serious deal. So when guys do come out here, I'm no different from anybody else. I'm come from the neighborhoods, the blocks. And but we can't. And that was an early struggle for me. I couldn't necessarily bring my culture here. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yep.
I have to leave. I had to leave that at the border patrol. Like
Yeah.
soon as I step foot on that plane, man, I can't be from Bakersfield, California, or what I'm saying, and growing up from where I come from. I had to
Mm-hmm.
really maintain a composure, an understanding of other cultures. You know what I mean? And sometimes when we come from these areas, we're not very understanding, and I wasn't at the beginning. So when I went to Belarus, uh, it was a really an eye opener because the next country I went to was Turkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I go from Russia pretty much all the way to Turkey, which is a Muslim country, and this
Exactly.
is when President Trump had what he did, he basically made he shut down the borders or something like that. Like he had like
Mm-hmm.
a no fly to Turkey or whatever. So I couldn't get out the country, and no Americans could get in. But I mean, I was out there, man, for like 6, 7 months, really not really knowing if it was ever going to come out anytime soon. I didn't really know if it could have taken a year, 2 years. It was really getting interesting for a second. So, um, you know, I know I'm kind of going off leading
No,
before
no, no. This is
the
this is
things,
your
but
story,
This
bro.
is what we
No,
want
this
to
is your
yeah,
hear.
story. This is you go to Turkey. You're stuck in Turkey with no. I'd be like, this is the things that when we talk to imports, they don't know. They don't
yeah,
Exactly.
know. Like they think that everything gets arranged for. No, man. This is part of your story, and this is why we tell it, and this is why it's
right.
so important for imports to listen, man,
Exactly.
because you've lived the life.
Yeah. I definitely lived, I definitely lived the life, man. I mean, I could tell you guys some kind of some stories that I would say is definitely important for guys to really pay attention to. The visa situation is always the biggest. I think anybody that can say anything about it is always about the visa. Um, and then, making sure your insurance. Visas and insurance are key. You know, make sure you protect yourself. And
Yeah.
that's something that I didn't take heed to in the beginning. Like I said, I was just here just to try to survive and figuring out as I go. But I had a horror story my first year, 2015, actually. Even going from a program like Frankfurt. They didn't get my visa properly, and I ended up going to Croatia. And through Croatia, and you have to go through like a small, fine slither of land of Slovenia. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so Slovenia is not in the Schengen, of course. So you know, if you're in the Schengen, usually your passport you don't get checked at any border. So
Exactly.
they ended up letting us go through to get to Croatia on the way down, but on the way back to Germany, um, they ended up stopping us on the Flixbus,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up getting picked at one of the guys being off. You know, whatever, right?
We're
No,
not surprised.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, like you didn't
Whatever.
stick out like a sore thumb at all.
I was kind of worried. I was wondering like why me, but no. So I got picked up, and long story short, my visa wasn't there, and so I had to spend the night at the border. And this is kind of one of those things where I learned the hard way to check my attitude at the passport control because I mean, when I'm saying livid hot, I was, ready to fight the control guy. And the young lady I was with at the time, she was freaking out, man. She was losing her marbles, like, please, like begging me, please calm down. They're gonna kill us and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, but I'm not caring, you know what I mean? Like my mentality was so different. So I'm like, nah, F this, F that, cussing up a storm. And he showed me for sure. Like we had to sleep on the border. So we ended up sleeping outside in the woods somewhere, kind of like in like a little parking stall area. And then like 6, 7 o'clock the next morning, a Flixbus going back to Croatia actually stopped, picked us up, and we had to go to the embassy. And I had to stay there for like 3 or 4 more days, and before I got my passport and stuff like that situated. And that was my first year here, and that's just from a visa standpoint. And then in 2019, I ended up signing with a team. They give me the contract and everything like that. I was here illegally, of course, at a period of time, which I told them and I explained to them. And long story short, they kind of left me to dry. So I get all the way out here. They leave me out to dry, and basically, you know, um, I then was kind of stuck. You see what I'm saying? Now I didn't have a way to get out because they cut me. So they basically was like, yeah, we don't need you as a coach. You got to get out the apartment. Blah 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 blah. Okay, no flight home, no nothing. Completely. And I mean, I
And
want to
that's how
say more.
teams do it. That's
Yeah,
how
I
teams
want
Yeah.
to
do
say,
it.
I want to say more about it, but I definitely don't want to get into a bashing of anything or anybody. I want to keep it
Yeah.
professional in a way. But man, that situation really kind of was a bigger slap in the face than anything, because if anybody know me, they know this game I'm gonna give it my all. So I'm out there working, doing my thing, and then for them to kind of just be like pull the rug underneath me, and I was stranded. I had nowhere to go at all. So I ended up going to Amsterdam, and then I ended up getting a deal with Prague at the time, Prague Black Panthers in the AFL, and so everything kind of became a little bit better after that, a little bit more steady. But I won't go ahead too far. What I mean, I'll just let the ask the questions and stuff like that. But
No, no,
those
bro.
those are
This
some
Well,
those are some of
no,
the
this
no.
is
things.
this is
This
what
is
we want. This
exactly.
is
Yeah,
the type of videos that we want to
yeah.
put
Like
out.
it's
Oh, okay,
This is the
okay,
thing that
okay.
we want to do. We want guys to come on this show and talk about their experience from the bottom of their heart, like no filter. We want people to hear what the real story is, like you just explained to us, and we want people to know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you come over
yeah.
here.
Yeah, no,
Um,
hell
but
no, ain't that
there's
that?
there's definitely positive things in
Yeah, I
playing.
mean it's
It's
a lot of
like
positives for sure, but
it's always everything can happen at any moment, and that's just how life goes. And that's what we want to bring out to people, and so people understand that it is nice to be doing this as a career, but you also need to watch out for real life not
And there's
fucking you over.
sacrifices, man. There's
yeah,
Exactly.
sacrifices.
you
At the
gotta,
end of the day, it's your story, man.
yeah.
And,
I mean, guys come in here they gotta be, you gotta have the underdog mentality. One, you gotta be a dog in a sense too, because you know the things that you got to be mentally tough. You got to be stable within yourself, confident within yourself, um, and you have to be very, very flexible. You have to be very understanding, um, and you have to let a lot of shit go. Just being honest. That's the only way you'll be able to survive out here, unfortunately, because there's a lot of bad business that's being done. There's a lot that I can definitely shed light on, but again, I'm not Cat Williams, so I'm not trying to bring anybody down. I am an
No,
empowerment of football, as you guys said, you know what I mean? So my whole goal is not to tear anything down or to talk about or anything like that, but to really share, like you said, share my truth. And I will share that truth, but I've lived in houses with 6 or 7 guys. I've slept in the same room as guys. I've seen situations where we had in Belgium, guys sleeping in the shed and stuff like that.
yeah.
I've seen and experienced guys getting hurt and not getting insurance and proper health care. I've seen guys basically get locked up for whatever reason, and the team just leave them in there. Um, it's so many things that can happen here that I think people and young men that's coming over here to play this game, even coaches, you feel me? Like coaches too. Like now we've seen a lot more American coaches and for bigger name coaches that coached NFL and college and so forth and so
Yeah.
on. You know, I can say this is like treat Europe one like it is UGA. You know, great program, but if you ass get caught up doing something, you out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to tolerate it. There's a few countries that are lenient, of course, with certain things, but know where you're at. You know what I mean? Know try to know
Yeah.
the people that you're dealing with. Try to understand some of those customs that they have. Try to really be respectful into some of their cultural things and differences, because I'll be honest with you, that's where a lot of people don't like me, because I came in with just a mentality like American mentality, which I would never change it. Don't get me wrong, but I know that I rub people sometimes the wrong way. But that's just me. You know what I mean? Like that just comes with it. I mean well. I want well for everybody. It's not that, but I'm gonna definitely stay true to myself and my coaching style too. And I believe in his players first. So it's respect, of course, accountability, etc. And so when you have those types of things and structures, sometimes those accountability things, some teams don't hold themselves accountable. You know, and some teams won't be responsible or respectful to who you are and what you believe in and what's your goals. You know, I always tell teams that I do coach, you know, is that you have some players that want it, you know, and you have some players that are just there, you know, and here is a lot more players that are just there, and you have a lot few players that really want it, you know.
Yep.
So, you know, for players coming over here, they got to realize that it is a social club. This is all of a social club that is just playing a sport.
Yep.
You know, the management, you know, you know, everything behind closed doors can be done by one person and his wife. You
Yeah.
know, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
See, yes,
for
yes,
real. So, you know, there's a lot of improfessionalism here. Uh, um, I mean, unprofessionalism. I'm sorry, but
yep,
it's a lot of unprofessionalism here. There is a lot of guys that do mean well, though. You know, you have to find those teams. You have to find those people. You have to really do your
yep.
homework. But at the same time, you have less people doing it right and more people doing it wrong out here too.
True. Yep.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%, man. Now let's get into like the current version of Elu, right? We've talked about the player version, we've talked about the growing up version. What do you got going on right now, Coach? I'd be like, you just got. I know that you got Kings of Europe. You coach quarterbacks. You're developing young men. You're helping them, bringing them over to the states. I'd be like, fill us in on what you got going on right now.
Yeah, so started Kings of Europe 77 9 years ago now. Yeah, almost 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 2018. And you know what we do? We've basically transitioned ourselves as well. You know, through the game of flag football now being popular, being an Olympic sport. We took this year off to really kind of you know just reinvent ourselves. You know, take a look from within ourselves and really not just put things out there, just put them out there. You know, I
Hmm.
think in business, we can't have a big of, you know, our ego can't be too big. You know, you get humbled. You know, so humbly we are kind of not stopping, but we're more so focusing within ourselves in a nutshell to where we can better fit in for the actual athletes. You know, there's so many guys out here that's doing camps and things of that nature. It's such a saturated market, but we also want to help develop that pipeline for our athletes that participate under the Kings of Europe umbrella. You know, we've been doing it step by step. Like I said, we started off in 7-on-7. Then we went to do 7-on-7 tournaments in the States. And then now we're doing also college tours, and then we're doing satellite camps and skill development. This past, well, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we took a group of athletes to Dallas, Texas, for our Kings team, our Kings travel team, and we will be taking two teams a year from the ages of 15 to 20 to Dallas, Texas, and then also at the end of the year to Miami, Florida. So we'll have two All-Star games. We are also working on developing more as we
Hmm.
speak. We have another team out in the out west. I want to say FSP or yeah, FSP, I think it is. They're one of the leading uh, top performance training facilities in the Northwest, and we will be playing them as well to kind of help get our kids showcased in front of talent, in front of coaches, so that these guys
Hmm.
can get better film. You know,
Yeah.
film is definitely hard to get out here. So we just doing those little things like that. Well, not little things. We're doing things like that and to help benefit. Big things popping, big things popping. You know what I mean? But no, get to a camp, man. We definitely need the support as far as from the communities because we're here for the communities. I'm not looking to our approach in Kings of Europe is to be grassrooted. I've been living in Europe for the past 10 years, consistently, not going back and forth to the States.
Hmm.
I've consistently been here and I've lived in all of Europe, from Turkey pretty much to the Netherlands. I've been all the way to Norway, been to Ireland, the UK, and everything in between, Bulgaria, Hungary, if you name it, Ukraine,
Mm.
I've been there. So I've pretty much coached every region. I understand the game very well. I understand what the athletes need, and I'm here as a developer. I'm here to develop the football in communities and bridging those gaps. It's not to kind of just come and scan and pick and see what I can get out of it, and what I can put in my pocket or whatever. I'm here to really develop, coach, teach, and also leave a program so that guys can continue to develop from that. I see all these camps going out here and out. I mean, I've had so many camps. I have a plethora of NFL college friends. You know what I mean? Like two of my true story. Two of my so one of my good friends or one of my good athletes, a good coach that I played with back in the day, Calvin Shepard, is the DC for the Detroit Lions, right? Then I have another friend that I played ball with. He's a DC for the IU Indiana. They just won a national championship. People won't really know that. Shout out to my boy Brian. Because I know that he's put in work, but people wouldn't know that because I don't promote it in a sense. But I'm a kind of guy where I want to sit back and watch. I want people I want to see what they really are about, and before kind of just putting my name out there and this, that, and the third, and just glitz and glamour. Everybody wants that, but it's those ones that are doing that work in the dark, that I really want to see. That character in a person. So. Yeah, man, here to develop, here to really kind of bridge those gaps in the communities. So, coaches, teams, organizations, if you hear this, see this, we're looking to work. We're looking to come to a location near you, hosting those camps and teaching, what I mean, and leaving a good impact on the players and the coaches there.
Man, talking about that, right? And this is a question we always ask, man. When we talked about it in the green room, when you're looking at small grassroots organizations, Elu, what do you think they have to do in order to establish themselves, in order for them to promote and grow correctly? Because what
Hmm.
we see is the flash in the pan a lot, right? Where they
Right.
go and they extend themselves financially, they bring in a ton of imports, and then the next year they're back at the bottom of the gutter.
Yeah.
They can't sustain, right? There
Yep.
has to be a way where, like here in the United States, like I always tell people, we use football to build men. We use it, and
Right.
it's built within the schools. Over there, the schools don't support like sports programs in that way. So, what does a guy, if I say, hey, I want to start a football program, what do you think they have to do in order for them to maintain and get that grassroots to grow and be successful?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts at the top, you know, I think if I ideally can say, you definitely starts at the top. Management is going to be key, right? But let's be honest. Here in Europe, it's not necessarily like they're building true management type of organizations, right? We're starting to see it now in the newer professional leagues that they're trying to work around and they're doing it. And I'm pushing for it to happen. Like I said, anything that's positive for football is positive for me. But I think the top is really where it's at. Really getting at least 3 to 4, I would say minimum. From the organizations that I've seen, it's been always like a 4 man or more type of a panel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where these guys always came. Maybe had the president, maybe had the guy that was finance, maybe had the guy that was doing the management, and maybe had the guy that's doing the administration and so forth and so on. But it was a four-head or higher team. You know what I mean? Because guys are getting burnt out. So I would definitely say start with four people that's committed. It can be a player, it can be a coach, it can be, anything like that. But make sure that these guys have a solidified position on what they're doing in the structure, and just really have a goal. Some people, I feel like some of these dudes they just be making teams because they like football. Like it's just like, bruh, like this is
No,
crazy.
let's get together and like, hey, let's
Yeah,
start a
like
football
let's
team
just let's
today.
just
Yeah.
play football,
Yeah.
And then I've seen situations where these guys will break from a team and start another team because they
Yep.
don't like a player or like a coach or this, that, and the third, and
Exactly.
it's just
Yep.
that I can't understand, you know. So they got to break out of that. You know, I live in the Netherlands, and honestly, it sucks because, to be honest with you, and I say this respectfully, and I hope that they hear this. But the Netherlands, we got to come together. You know what I mean? There's everybody that's just here and there and this, that, and the third. And I don't know what the problem is per se, but I'm not in competition with anybody. But you know what I mean? But it's just kind of like, you know, we got to be able to come together because football is community. You
Yep.
know, so that's one of the things that I would say. Can management build community, build continuity, and then the second thing that's the most important is getting coaches, investing in coaching. You know, stop
Yep.
bringing in American quarterback every other season or every season a new receiver, a new running back, a new coach here, a new coach there. Get somebody that you guys believe in, invest in them. Don't just try to shave off a little bit of their pay. Don't try to, you know, say, hey, you know, if I can give you this, can we get another player? Give them what they owe. Give them what they deserve, you know, because what I've seen is, and the downfall is that, you know, we come over as players and we have to be coaches. And if we say and tell these guys no, for example, they almost don't want you to come because they're looking
Right.
at it for a bang for the buck. So we get a two for one. We get a youth coach and we get a quarterback. So we get a guy that's going to be able to teach our young quarterbacks, quote unquote. But we ain't got one quarterback out here in Europe that's worth anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
and you know, and I coach quarterbacks, and I'll be honest with you, I've tried to do quarterback camps and things of that nature. Man, these guys are getting butchered out here. You know, I'm just going to keep it real. You know, if I can tell my story, there's guys out here calling themselves quarterback coaches that they ain't never played the game. They ain't never played the sport. I
Yep.
mean, to
They
me,
don't
is
understand the proper fundamentals, techniques, anything.
No.
I mean, if it's put like this, you don't necessarily have to be a player to be a coach per se. I'm not going to say that, but there's a difference between coaching a quarterback and developing a quarterback.
Yep.
You know, we got a lot of coaches that can coach quarterback, but we ain't got nobody that can develop a quarterback.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't seen not one quarterback be that coached by someone else that made it. I sent already 2 to 3 quarterbacks to college, but nobody says anything about it. Just being honest. You
Yeah.
know, so it's not about more so the recognition. I don't need that, but I'm, you know, if I'm gonna speak my piece, that's what the real is. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So we got a lot of guys that's out here, that's in these coaching positions that call themselves coaches but can't really coach. You know, and that's just the sad part about it. You know, so organization, community, coaching. After that, then you can try to get your American imports or whoever that need to strengthen your thing.
Yep.
But within that coaching frame, it needs to be a year-round coach, and they need to have their program, and they need to be
Mm.
based focused on the local players, and then you add and contribute 1 or 2 guys, 1 or 2 pieces to bring in to make it stronger where you're weaker at. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Ideally, I would definitely stop bringing over quarterbacks. That's just me. We tried to do it, you know, one year. Well, actually, I tried to do it 2 years. I did it in Rostock one year, and then also in Belgium. You know, with you guys.
Mm.
You know, so it works. It's not pretty, but it works. You know, if you have good coaches, it works. And you just have to have guys there that's going to be able to help develop them. You know, we did this in one season. You know, it wasn't like we had a 2, 3, 4 seasons. You know, think
Exactly.
about that. Think about if we had the same
Yep.
guys for
Yep.
2 to 3 years doing the same thing year round and actually having consistency in coaching, consistency in terminology, consistency in drills, etc. These guys will develop. You know what I mean? There's no continuity out here and consistency out here in Europe when it comes to that. And so, if they really truly want to grow in that way, they have to do it that way. Now, I usually get paid for saying these things, but there you go. You know what I mean? Like that's for free. You know, free game, but that's real.
Thank
That's
you.
real.
No, that's the truth, man. Because Vincenzo and I have been talking about this, and what I love is we've gotten different answers, right? But
Yep.
none of them are incorrect. All of them incorrect in a form because
Right.
everybody just has a different aspect. And what
Yep.
in this podcast we hope is that people continue to listen and take these different parts because you might be successful in one part, but you're failing in another.
Right.
And that's the most difficult part, right?
That's
So
true.
when Vinny brought something up too, Coach, and let me ask you this:
I'm
we
sorry. I
we
gotta
talked
find
about
my charger if that's okay for y'all.
no
That's
worries,
fine.
Coach.
All right. Y'all can. I know
So
y'all can edit this out, but you know.
Yep.
no, don't worry about it, Coach. We keep
All
it
right. Go ahead.
raw,
I'm
we keep
listening
it
then.
real. But
Yeah.
so
We
he
don't
said
care.
this: we talked about how the baffle AFBN and all these teams they have so many teams, and it's diluted
Right.
the talent per province.
Yep.
What do you think about Vinny's idea? Okay, and this is Vinny's idea right
I
now.
do wanna say I am working on a theory on this.
Okay,
It's
so
a
this is his
it's a
theory.
it's still a theory, but
Uh,
I'm working on this. But
okay,
in my opinion, if and that's just a small part of it, I'm still working on it, and maybe we can invite you. I think you would be a perfect guy for when I bring the entire theory out because you know Belgian and Dutch football.
Right.
But I think my theory would be you only go to one team per province.
like one
So
team
you
per state.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
So in Belgium, that will mean 10 teams, plus Brussels has their own team because they have a big population of almost a million, which can definitely sustain a team.
Hmm.
But all the other provinces should just go to one team. So all these, like where I live in West Flanders, you have three teams at the moment, and all three of those teams barely have enough players to have a full 22 roster,
Right.
and to have a competitive roster. So I think that would be the ideal situation, and especially doing the same in the Netherlands, where they have three divisions with each five teams, which I think is not the best situation.
Right.
So I think, and if you really want to do that, I think you have to go to a structure where it's league owned teams.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that you have to cut out all these owners. I think you should have all these owners on the type of board in the league where you can all talk with each other and vote on certain rule
Like the
changes, certain
NFL.
things. Exactly.
Right.
Of
In a sense,
course,
yeah.
of course, it is, like I said, it is a theory because for all this to happen, you would have to have a big investor that wants to put a lot of money in this.
Right.
But so that's why it's all a theory. But I think if that would to happen, imagine you win a lottery and you want to spend money on that. I think you should have the league own the teams. You start a BNL. You have the six best teams from Belgium, six best teams from the Netherlands that play each other, and then you have Division Two in both countries that play in their own countries, and then you work like that, and you redesign some teams. Probably you have to do some fusions of teams that have to become one team, but I would still keep the original teams to develop youth because you have the youth for youth players it's harder to go further to get to a practice field. So if you
Right.
have, like, for example, in West Flanders, you have three cities that you can go to. That's three cities that people can go to develop their skills, all to work towards that level of going to that main team of that province. And of course, if you develop football well enough, you can even go to one ELF team for Belgium and the Netherlands, where all the top talents of that league can actually go and play for that team then. But that's
Yeah.
just a small portion of that theory
That's
I'm
his
still
theory.
working on.
Yeah, I follow
So
you. I follow you. I follow you. I would say this. I think ideally that's a great idea. Honestly, I think that like yeah, makes sense a lot. But I think realistically,
Yeah, it's impossible.
a team like it that's in like Brussels or so will be very much too dominant, right? And let's be real, like when we played in that league, it was Brussels Crusaders, Rotterdam,
Yep.
major cities. Those
Yep.
were the only teams that were
I
like
agree.
pretty much competing or better than us. You know what I mean? And so the thing I think that shows is that the big drop off and the lack of talent in some of these other regions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But ideally, I think that if you maybe put guys with less teams well, less teams and you get more guys on one team in those regions,
Mm-hmm.
you do definitely scale up a bit.
That's what.
But that's then where we're saying Brussels Tigers and Brussels
Black
Black
Angels.
Angels
Yep.
are then together. You know what I mean? Like that's
Well, they kind
pretty
of
much a
already
super
were
team.
most of the time. Yeah, but they kind of already and still they can't compete with the Crusaders. So at the same time,
Exactly. So then you look at Crusaders. Shoot, then you're gonna take Almeida, Hilversum,
yep,
and
Arnhem.
a few. I mean, I don't know who else is around there. I don't know, but I think like that's two or three teams in that region where Crusaders. I mean, in the Netherlands, is pretty much Crusaders.
Yep.
You know, these guys who are on parade around. I mean, I'm a Crusader, man. These my guys. You know, they brought me out, but I'm gonna tell the truth. You know, but these guys they parade around. You know, as if you know they're big bad, in which they are in the Netherlands. But you know, anytime these guys step outside of the Netherlands, they get an
Yeah.
ass kicked.
Yep.
So they go anywhere east towards Germany, the ass is getting smacked. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I think outside of Belgium and Netherlands, you know, Crusaders, they're respected. You know, they're definitely respected, but not outside of this region. You know, and
No.
that's where
No, that's true.
that's
And,
yeah,
and, and,
that's the real
and for me, like I think like the idea with Vinny, I think what it does, coach, and I'll tell you like this. It's because those provinces, because they're so spread out, what it does is it kind of centralizes the talent for that province, right? But
Exactly.
I'm
right.
with you that the larger ones are going to have hired more more people that have more talent, of
Yeah,
course,
definitely.
you know. But for me, I think you have to structure it in a way, at least at the local level. I would just do it at the Belgium level first, where you
Yeah.
structure something where the talent pool is not so diluted. And what I do like is you can put good coaches with less teams. Like
Yeah.
just invest in that. If you put fucking good coaches with
Yep.
I
less
mean,
teams
you
at the
just
top,
build a whole coaching staff. I mean, it's not even like the fact of less coaches. I mean, we you know like for example, you know, we were out there with just me and
yeah,
you know, for the most part. You
yeah,
know, we didn't have any true position coaches. I mean, that year we had more coaches than we did the second year. I mean, you wasn't there the second year. The second year was worse than the first year I was there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yep.
And so was really me and Coach Head at that point. You know, it was just us. Like he had the defense and special teams, and I had the offense and the head coaching jobs, and dealing with who I had to deal with. You know,
yeah,
so so you know, like if we for example have a receivers coach, have a running back coach, have a special teams coach, have a kicking coach, have a everything O line coach, etc. Then what I'm saying is you put that coaching staff together and you put them out there in that region, then you're going to see guys get better. I look at
Mm-hmm.
this structure just like a high school structure, right? And if you know, Will, you probably can contest to this, but I remember growing up, you know, where I'm coming from in Bakersfield, when I was growing up, it was East, West,
yep.
South High, Bakersfield High, North High. And that was it.
Mhm.
And then eventually it expands. And then we get Ridge U, the Centennials, blah, blah, blah. Right? But then the football started to get worse and, you know, the other schools, you know what I mean? Like, because now we're starting to pull kids and we
Yep.
redistrict these
You
kids and
start diluting.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And we pretty much have another school. And now the talent level is stretched thin at any school. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I think of it the same way where, you know, we have too many freaking teams.
Yep.
Like, wait,
That's
no,
the
really.
issue.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody got a team in a damn village. Like, bro, you don't got 10,000 people in your damn team, your town. Why you got a team? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But that's kind of goes back to the individual, the kind of the comment that I made earlier, and guys needing to work together. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Build something first. Build a foundation. Build a team. Actually, build a team. Build one team first. You know,
Yep.
for example, if you're going to build Crusaders, build them up, man. Then build them to a point to where they can have an international team that can go compete internationally, but then they can have a local team that is still developing locally. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But you trying to have a team over here, trying to have a team over there. Now this kid has to choose where he goes, And of course, he's gonna go sometimes, maybe with his friend. Maybe he want to go because they're a winning team. Maybe they
Yeah,
go because it's closer and it's more convenient for him. All
exactly.
of those things will get taken out now. You see what I'm saying? If you have one team, everybody goes under one umbrella, or at least a constructive type of umbrella, to where, a structured umbrella to where these guys are being processed. You know what I'm saying? Like they always say, trust the process.
Hmm.
Shit, these guys are coming out of rolling out of bed. They don't know how to lift. They don't know how to train. They don't know. They don't know X's and O's. They don't know gap schemes. They don't know. You know what I mean? They don't know
Right.
nothing. You
Yeah,
know.
you have,
Yeah.
and that's something we have to get into, that people need to teach the bare basics and the techniques, man. I mean, like everything like that. Like you said, invest in coaching in your programs. Look at it and say, hey, this is where the money is really, we're going to get the most bang for our buck, is to bring in a quality coach to build up our program. And like you said, Elu, to go in there and just invest in them.
Right.
So that's going to be
Right.
their best process. But
Yep.
Yep.
guys, we're getting to the end of the show. We have hit the hour mark, man. Hey, Coach, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate you, big dog. We are going to be watching you, Kings of Europe, guys. Make sure you hit up our boy E.Lew. If you are out there in the EU and you're trying to play QB, this man is the man that's going to make you something, baby. He is legit. Vinny,
Let's get this money, man.
yes,
Let's get this
sir.
money. Hey, I appreciate y'all boys having me, man. It's
Thank
all
you.
love. It was definitely too short. We gotta do a part two, man. You know what
We're
I'm
definitely
saying?
gonna.
Hey, we
There's
coming
gonna
Bring
be
me
back.
more
back.
than two
Part
Yeah,
parts,
two,
I
yeah.
think.
baby.
Yeah,
Part
we
two,
gotta
you
do a
heard?
part two to this, all right? And I might
Yeah,
get a little juicy
definitely,
story, so you know.
definitely, definitely.
Hey,
We'll
and
definitely do
hey, now
that.
you got it. Hey, guys, listeners, we're going to get a part two going back to back with Coach E.Lew. He has a lot of stuff to tell us, a lot of juicy information, you
For
know.
sure.
But, Vinny, hey, and now we got part two coming up. So we're
Hey,
going
we
to have to
gotta
get
do it. We
part
gotta
two in the
do it.
books.
We
So,
gotta do it.
hey, let them know what else we got in the books, man. We're going to have who? Come on.
We have Rayleigh that is gonna
Okay.
come on, quarterback Division 2 that has had a great career in Europe. Tomorrow we have another coach from the Limburg Shotguns that we're gonna interview. He's the DC now.
Yeah. We got Coach
Um,
My
Benz
boy.
coming on from Hungary.
yeah, we
Yes,
we
sir.
we do we do we do have some big names coming up. I'm trying to get some Division 1 guys to come on the show. So there's definitely some big names coming in the future.
Yeah,
No, and
if you guys need me for anything, let me know, man. I can, also recommend some guys maybe that you guys could,
Can
absolutely,
definitely
Elu,
recommend
share a
some guys.
story
and
with.
you're always welcome back, my brother. That's
Yeah,
why we
yeah.
Hell
I
yeah,
might
invited you
because
on,
hell
I
yeah.
think a
a
good
part
guy would
two.
also be Jadrian, my boy Jadrian Clark. Shout out Jadrian Clark.
We can definitely.
He was actually coming on when I was pretty much exiting and stuff, and I'll be honest with you, and he'll contest to it as well. But we talked a lot about just earlier on, just kind of how to navigate things. And it's been a blessing to see his story grow, man, and to what it is right now. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play
Yep.
out here.
Yep.
So, I think that would be a good one for y'all. You know what I mean? He'll
We'll love
definitely
to
bring a
have him
lot of
on with you,
attention. So,
Elu. Hey, maybe
yeah,
for part two. Maybe for
yeah,
part
maybe me
two.
and him
Hell
will
yeah.
come back. You know what I'm saying?
Hell
Live from
yeah.
Amsterdam, baby.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, man. Can't
Hell
wait.
yeah.
Hey,
All right, you
listeners,
guys.
until
Hey, you
next
guys be
time.
blessed, man. Thank you guys for having me, man. I'll talk
Bless
to you
you.
guys soon.
Bye.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, listeners, until next time, man, make sure you stay locked into Vinny and Will Show. We're going to bring you everything about international football. We have our boy E.Lew. He's going to do a part two. He's going to bring his boy Adrian Clark. We're going to talk football. We're going to bring it all up, man. Kings of Europe, hit our boy up. You know what it is, baby.
Yeah.